Okay, so you have just enrolled for a 10K race but have no idea how to go about it, meaning that you do not have any ready structured plan with yourself. Don't worry, we got you covered, because today I am going to help you prepare your very own personalized 10K running plan based on your current fitness, which will help you run faster. So without much ado, let's get deep into it. But before we can actually go on and prepare this plan for you, you must answer few queries. Number one, what is the target time that you're keeping to yourself? And what is the current level of your running? Meaning that whether you have done few races, what are the timings? That will give us an indication as to what all fitness intensities that you can hold on to. And you need to be very careful in answering these questions, and you need to be not very arbitrary on this. For example, if you are currently running, someone who is currently running at 70-75 minutes for a 10K, I would urge you not to keep a goal pace which is a bit arbitrary and bit difficult to achieve. Like, don't keep something around 40-45 minutes, because that takes time, and these are plans for 8 week, 10 week, and it will be difficult to achieve that kind of an impossible target or unrealistic, I would suggest, a target. So therefore, pick your target pace based on your current pace with 10-15% of improvement. So having answered these two queries, we now know what is our goal pace. But then the next question that comes into mind as to how you should train for it. Well, there are two schools of training. One is intensity based, other is pace based. So let us first take up intensity. Well, intensity is the effort that you are putting in, the work done. Now the question is, what is its importance and how do you measure it? Now worldwide, intensity can be measured in two ways. Number one is actually an estimate or a guesstimate, I would say. It is measured on perceived level of exertion, wherein you give yourself certain points scaling between 1 to 10 when you run a session. Like for example, you run a recovery run or an easy run. Obviously, the effort in a scale of 1 to 10 would be 1 and 2. Now, this is arbitrary and only an estimate. The more accurate method of measuring intensity is through heart rate. Yes, heart rate plays a very important role here, because heart rate tells us what is going on inside the body when the body is put under stress, whether during running or any physical activity. So heart rate is much more closer to reality metrics for measuring intensity. If you want to know more about heart rate and its impact on running, please go ahead and watch this video which I have created some times back, which tells you heart rate and its importance, including what happens to the heart rate during running. Now, heart rate as a discrete feature is not directly converted into those intensity zone, but there is a formula to calculate different zones of intensities. Like and this could be through maximum heart rate, or some formulas suggest maximum heart rate as well as take into consideration the resting heart rate to calculate it more reasonably, more accurately based on your current fitness level. Whichever way or formula you use, the link of which I will give you in the description, whichever formula you used, basically worldwide these heart rate zones or the intensity zones are divided into mostly 5 or 7 zones. For ease of discussion, we will take a 5 zone system and discuss. As you can see in the picture in the screen, that I have created a 5 zone heart rate system or intensity system, wherein the intensity starts from top to bottom and the time zone start from left to right. So as you go up, the intensity increases. Now there are 5 zones. So what is zone number 1? So zone number 1 is the lowest zone, which is kind of used in your recovery warm-up zone. This is like 50 to 60% of your maximum heart rate. Now what is maximum heart rate? We will come back and explain. And you can hold on for longest of duration, probably entire day, maybe 6 to 8 hours. Now next is zone 2. In terms of effort level, maybe RPE, this is 2 to 3. Again, a very medium level of effort. And these are your easy runs. These are your long runs. and this is 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Zone 2, you can still stay around 1 to 3 hours. You can spend this time. These are your marathon run speeds or startup of a marathon run speeds, your long runs. So these are great zones to train, and these seems to be trainable for more longest of duration, and these are your base building zone. At this level, fat burning happen. So this zone 2 is the most important zone in the running and athletic world, because when you train enough, your aerobic base builds up, your oxygen utilization capacity, your fat burning effects, and that's how you become aerobically more fit. And as you grow up, you can therefore stack more and more speed zones, like for example zone 3, which is 70 to 80% of your maximum heart rate, or this is the kind of a medium or beginning of a threshold zone where lactic acid gets produced at the top end of it. So these are steady state runs. Tempo can hold on 40 to 90 minutes in this zone. So the next zone is zone 4, which is your VO2 max zone, which is your speed training zone, which is not, you cannot hold on for much longer duration, maybe up to 30-40 minutes only. You can hold on to this zone. These are your interval zone, faster training zone. These are your 10k race zone. It helps in your neuromuscular fitness as well as starting of the anaerobic zone capacity. So VO2 max is very important. It tells you about your athletic capacity as to how you are utilizing oxygen and how you are dealing with your lactic acid that is produced. So the very important zone for speed training. Next is the highest maximum capacity, or the zone 5, which is about 90 to 100% of your maximum heart rate. And here you can spend only less than 5-6 minutes, even if you are a well-trained runner. These are all faster finisher. These are fag end of a race if you can hold on to it. These are not actively trainable or actively trained for much duration. These are trained at a very smaller duration. So what you can see from this zone is that these are stacks which are piled up one against the another. So as a commonsensical manner, if you want to attain greater speed at a higher vortex level, you definitely need to build the bigger base. So bigger is your base, more speed you are going to get. And so for a smarter training, you need to distribute your training into different zones. It's a matter of golden thumb rule. You have to remember that 80-85% of your runs, training runs, has to be done in zone 1 and zone 2. Why? Because this is where your aerobic base builds up. That helps you support the speed runs. Having understood the intensities of the zone system, which is calculated based on the HR max, now let us understand what is HR max and how it is calculated. Well, maximum heart rate, to calculate it, most practical way is to visit a lab and do a lab test. Now that's costly and time consuming. There are older methods of estimating them by like 220 minus your age. Now these are all arbitrary. So there are Hunt method, which is 211 minus 0.64 times your age. This again a bit accurate but research based, but these are all arbitrary. The best way, another alternative way to calculate your maximum heart rate is to do a trial run for 30 minutes, all out run. And in the last 20 minutes, whatever is the average maximum heart rate, you can safely assume that to be your maximum heart rate. And thereafter, you can use this formula of percentages of maximum heart rate to calculate the zones. I will also give you a link of a website which can easily calculate your zone, whether through maximum heart rate, whether also through resting heart rate. Whichever way you calculate, you will get those 5 zone HR systems. Having understood the intensity system, let us now also understand at what pace you must run your training runs so that you can hold on to those intensity. Well, fortunately, we have a solution to this, although kind of accurate. So there are websites like Jack Daniels running VDOT calculator or macmillanrunning.com, wherein these are expert coaching systems, wherein if you put in your recent race results and your goal pace, all your training runs will be calculated. For example, as you can see in the screen now, that I am going to that website and putting my recent race timings, and you can see that it has calculated all my training runs like easy run, long run, intervals, 400 meter, 800 meter, kilometer repeats, tempo runs. All these running paces are already calculated there based on the data that you have provided. Now you can go to this website and calculate and take a note of this training paces. So we are now having training paces as well. Having now known the intensity system and calculated the heart rate zones and the pace, the corresponding paces, we are now perfectly ready to draw and design our 10K running plan. But just before we start that, I again come back to that smart debate of whether to follow an intensity based school or whether to follow a pace based school. But I would suggest we can do a mix of both. I would suggest in your lower end runs like your easy run, long run, recovery run, you can hold on to the zone based system, intensity or the heart rate system. Why? Because these zones are very particular, very sensitive to heart rate. All those physiological, metabolical activity, fat burning happens at a certain zone of fitness. So, and which is so very important for your overall training, overall aerobic base building. For the slower run, I would urge you to follow the zone system. And for the speedier runs, which we will discuss later on, for the speedier run, you can safely follow the paces that you have calculated through that Macmillan running or the V. Jack Daniel running systems. Congratulations! So you have reached a position where you can now draw your own actual 10K plan. I have written here my 10K running plan, and you can start customizing the plan. So this is going to be an 8-week plan, and you can interpolate it for a bit less or more for that. So now I have assumed that this is going to be a 8-week plan, and in which there are I am assuming that there is going to be one long run in a week, and which is going to be probably Sunday. So Sunday I am reserving it for long runs. I'm going to come back and talk, and therefore the very next day, that is Monday, I'm going to put a rest day. You are going to do nothing on Monday. So I'm putting rest days on Monday. You can change these days alternatively, but I would suggest when you do a long run, the very next day you can take a day off, meaning that you do not do anything. So these are your long runs. No, so long runs for a 10K, I would suggest you do from 8 to 16 kilometers, and then you taper down, a bit. So how would you do that? So let's say you start with 8, then you go to 10, then you go to 12, 14, 16, kind of, then you go to 12, 10. So similarly, and then I would suggest 8, and then the last week that is your taper week, you do not do anything. So gradually you increase and then you gradually come down. These long runs are to be done at a very slow pace, at an easy pace. Remember zone 2 that we spoke about, so you do it at zone 2. For a beginner runner, I am expecting them to, for first 2 weeks, to take a bit of slow. And that's why I am not introducing any interval training for a beginner runner, meaning who have done once or doing their first time at 10K. I would suggest the interval training to start from 3rd week onwards. But for a trained runner who wants to only improve, you can insert intervals from week 1. So I'm going to talk about the next, that is Tuesday, what you're going to do. So Tuesdays you can do easy runs. For the next 2 weeks, if you are even if you are a kind of a trained runner, I would suggest that the first 2 weeks you do some easy running, and this could be like 2 to 4 kilometers only, 2 to 4 kilometers only. And from the next week onward, please insert strength training, the most important aspect of a training, especially for 10K. So I would incorporate strength training for all these days. So you please do strength training. I would suggest for all this, except for the week 8, where you can do again a bit of easy run, again for 2 to 4 kilometers. So these are strength training, and for the first 2 weeks, as I am not touching any strength training, please do some easy runs, then some strength trainings, incorporate some strength training. Strength training at this point of time, it may not be a wholesome, very big gym effort, but Even if you do some resistance band, body weight, leg and core training, that would do. But if you can go to the gym, that will be nothing like it. Do some strength training. 10K is a faster race. You need to build your leg and core muscles. So what could be those sessions? Sometimes I will talk about it and show you some examples. So moving on, next is on the first 2 weeks, I would also urge you to do some Wednesday, some CrossFit, maybe CrossFit or yoga, maybe for only the next 2 week, and after that the speed sessions will start. So CrossFit also plays a very important role. So swimming, biking, eccentrical biking, these become very important. Next, on Wednesday, you start with speed sessions. So I am writing SS1, means speed session category 1. We will explain. Your SS1. And for the 8th week, we're going to come back and explain. So speed session 1s, or what are these speed session 1s? So I will come back and explain these sessions specifically, but these are your intervals hill repeat sessions. So next is Thursday. Again, I would urge you, if you're a beginner or if you can take on easy the first 2 weeks, which you should. The reason I'm saying this is that your muscles get toned up and you get ready for those interval session, tempo session. So first 2 weeks, if you can take it a bit easy, that will be great. So what I suggest is you again do some easy runs, maybe 3 to 5 kilometer, again those zone 2 runs. And then obviously, since you have started doing the speed session, the next day, which is Thursday, you should do some recovery runs, 20-25 minutes, zone 1, that's it. Some recovery runs, zone 1 or touching zone 2, some recovery runs. Now Friday for trained runner, I would suggest to actually go and start the session, because you have not done any speed session here. So you can incorporate from day 1. And for a beginner, I would again suggest you to go in for some easy runs for 20 minutes. Easy runs for 20 minutes. You go in for your speed session 2s, the SS2, speed session 2. I will explain these when I come to these sessions specifically. The reason I'm concentrating on the first 2 week is that let your aerobic base build up. So I'm putting in a lot of recovery and easy runs there, and coupled with your long runs. And on Saturday, irrespective of what a make or build runner you are, you please do some strength or cross. If you have done leg training here, then you do some core work there. So strength or cross. For any kind of running, strength training becomes very, very important. So as you can see, by this you have almost 7 weeks ready, and you can gradually increase your mileages. You are building up your speed sessions also. We will discuss the speed sessions separately and how beautifully you have calculated. And since these recovery runs, easy run is based on your zones, which are your own personal, which are based on the zones that you have already calculated based on your own personal maximum heart rate. So these are all personalized things. These are all personalized parameters or metrics on which this system is based, and the intervals are going to be at paces which we are going to discuss. That also will be your personal. So having come to this week 7, now the week 8, you drop the intensity, the volume, everything. So we do an easy run, then we go for rest. Then on Thursday, again an easy run of 2 to 3 kilometers. And don't worry, all these plans and documents will be available in the description as a link, so you can download from there. And on Saturdays you do a walk, and maybe a shakeout run, which I will explain later, and then on Sunday is your rest day. So that's how your entire 8-week plan is ready. Now let's talk about the session. So now let's talk about speed session 1 category, which is intervals and hill repeats. So these are to be done at a zone 4, zone 5 pace, which you have already calculated in your Macmillan training running paces, and these are short duration with 60 to 90 second rest in between. So certain examples are there, like 6 to 15 times 400 meter with a 60-second rest in between, and this has to be done at a VO2 max pace, or it can be your goal pace minus 10%. So which will come back, and you will realize this, that even the Macmillan pace is somewhere around this only. So whatever Macmillan pace has been given to you for a 400 meter repeats, you please follow that. 6 to 15 times you do it with a 60-second rest. The second is 3 to 5 times kilometer repeat. These are very, very important, and these are to be done at a goal pace. Whatever is your goal pace, let's say you are doing a 60-minute 10k, that is your plan. So you hold on to 3 to 5 times 1 kilometer at a 6 minutes per kilometer race pace. Next is 800 meter 6 to 8 times. These are called Yasso intervals, probably at a goal pace. If not at a goal pace, you can calculate the Macmillan pace of 800 meter. It is given there, and you can use that pace. The next very important category is hill repeats. Now many of you may not be staying in a hill, so you can replace hill with a bit of a flyover, a gradient one. You can do it in treadmill, but I would not support a treadmill at a higher pace. It is better to do it at a pavement road or a actual hill. So it's a smaller distance, maybe 200 meter 4 to 8 times with 60-second again rest in between, and you do it at a bit slower pace, because hill is already a challenging one, already attacking your glutes and quads. So you can do it goal pace plus 15% rest, a bit slower than your goal pace. So these are the example of speed session. There are other examples they given in my booklet, which I am going to attach in the description, so don't worry, you can take it up from there. So these are speed session 1s. Before jumping into the speed session 2 or the tempo sessions, you must understand each of these speed sessions are designed for certain neuromuscular responses. For example, the speed session 1 or the VO2 max is designed for enhancing your VO2 max or athletic capacity, where your clearing of the lactate is very important, and you try to push your threshold limits. So that's how you expand your zones, and you become more strength runner. So that becomes very important. So because and more specifically for a 10k which is to be done at a faster pace, these speed intervals become very, very important. Now coming back to speed session 2, which is nothing but tempo or tempo intervals. So these are at a fast but controlled pace, not a Z4 all out pace or Z4 or Z5 pace. It is Z3, a steady state running, in which some of the example can be 15 minutes of zone 2 warm up, and then you can do 25 minutes at a zone 3 kind of pace, or pace that the Macmillan has provided you for your tempo sessions. You can do that tempo running at that pace, plus 10 minutes you can recover in your zone 2 easy level. Similarly, and a second example is 15 minutes of warm up, and then you do 2 times 20 minutes interval at zone 3 tempo pace, and in between this you can do a 3 minute of resting and then 10 minutes of cool down. The third and the most important, which is applicable to your long run. In your long run, once you have graduated to a 15-16 kilometer of long run, the last 3-4 kilometer you can do a faster finish with the last 3-4 kilometer in zone 3. So that helps in your long run, faster finish long run also, and that helps you training your tempo zones also. So that winds up the the tempo trainings. So just like that, you have created your own personalized 10k running plan. But before I can conclude this session, following important word of caution. Number 1, please choose your goal pace very carefully and not arbitrarily based on your reasonable fitness that you are running in, based on your heart rate that you are seeing. Number 2, there are certain elements that plays a very important role for any training plan to be successful. For example, your recovery, your sleep, your hydration, your nutrition, all this has to go hand in hand with the training plan that you plan to implement it. So congratulations, now you have your own training plan. So go out there and try to implement, follow it with discipline. If you have any query related to any part of this training plan, do not feel hesitant to comment or ask questions. If you want any part of this training plan to be elaborated further, I will be only happy to help you. Please understand, this is 8 weeks training plan and you have to be diligent on this, and please do not expect a path breaking result, but it will definitely help you improve your running paces. It will help you improve your timelines for sure. So go ahead, do the training, enjoy your race, get a PB, write to me. Until such time, follow the channel, subscribe, hit that like and subscribe button, press that bell icon and keep following this channel. Until then, all the best to you, and as I always say, run easy, race hard.